are in the quarterfinals. You really, really are. And are you still Ange out? Because every week I see you Ange out, but then, you know, you're in the quarterfinals of a European competition.
Yeah, I am still Ange out, but I think when he gets things right, you have to praise him. But that's not very often. He got things right on Thursday night. He took off Van de Ven when he needed to because he's looking at the bigger picture. He went with Odegaard, who can beat a man rather than that scrub Brennan Johnson. And he turned up with a brace. Son actually looked good. That looked like the Son from 3 or 4 years ago, running at his man. Just didn't get his goal. He was desperate for that. Obviously, we had a couple of nervy moments. They had Troy Parrott. I mean, couldn't even get a game for us, and then he's causing havoc at our stadium. But I've just filmed a TikTok saying that if we get past Frankfurt, I think we beat Lazio or Bodo Glimt because I'm not really concerned about those. Frankfurt, for me, that's the ultimate test. They're a much better side than anything we faced. They're in the Champions League, top 4 race in the Bundesliga, and they've won the Europa League in the last 3 or 4 years. So they've got pedigree in this competition. I think we've got a lot easier side of the draw than you guys. If you face Bilbao, be honest, I think Nico Williams the other night was against Roma was insane. But yeah, I mean, there's a bit of optimism about me now. It'll all probably change when we lose 3-0 against Fulham. But there is a little bit of optimism. You know, it's probably hopium, and it's probably just going to be all come crashing down on me in May when we're 15th and out of all 3 competitions, and Ange Postecoglou extends his contract. That for me is the worst thing. But yeah, I mean, so far it's Europa League or bust. So yeah,
so it's bust.
Yeah, it's bust then.
pretty much. I mean, the Frankfurt, the fact that the first leg's at home. The last time we went for a European competition and the first leg was at home was Ajax. Now, that was many, many moons ago now. I just think...
Yeah, but that was when you had a decent team.
We had a good team and a good manager. Now, I don't know. There's something about how Spursy would it be to get through to the final and be 16th in the Premier League. Now, that would just be typical Tottenham.
Yeah, but then you'd lose the final. If we're going for typical Tottenham, we'll lose the finals. That'll be even worse.
I will
Henry,
say,
I was going to... Sorry, go on. Go
on, Phil. Go, you're a guest man. Go on.
No, I was only going to ask Henry, like, once the game happens with Eintracht Frankfurt, I'll be interested to see what his thoughts are on Hugo Ekitike. I do think he's definitely a rising talent, and so I'll be really curious to see what you kind of think. Hopefully, it doesn't cause you, obviously, Tottenham too much damage, but he's a rising talent. I won't be surprised if he's a player that we're talking about in the summer. So
yeah, I think he'll get a Prem move. He does look, you know, a decent player, and not only that, looking at our centre backs, Danso, it's unlikely he will play because yet again we've got our 18th hamstring injury. Who would have guessed it playing with a defensive line near the opposition's final third? I'm not really surprised. Yeah. And now the weekend, I think it's going to be Romero and Archie Gray. I think they will bubble wrap Van de Ven, but he's going to cause us problems. That Frankfurt game. I mean, I was in a group chat earlier, and we're somehow still favourites for the Europa League. I don't think we should be even favourites for the tie. Frankfurt are a much better football team than us. You know, they've got they've got a decent midfielder as well who can cause us huge problems as well.
The one that played for Bayern. I forgot his name now.
Goethe.
Yeah, that's
that's the one. He's going to be looking at it going,
I'm sorry, Henry. If Mario Goetze is striking fear into your heart in 2025, then
he's not going to strike fear into our hearts. But he's just going to be in the change room going, lads, it's Tottenham. That's when, you know, when you got a guy that scored in the World Cup final who's still probably
Henry. I think some of the Tamworth players were saying that in the dressing room before they played in the FA Cup. I don't think you need an extensive CV to go, lads, it's Tottenham. They're not very good, these.
Yeah, I know.
It's a bit like what Liverpool was saying about PSG, I remember. But anyway, different conversation, I think.
do you guys actually think Tottenham can get past Frankfurt?
I think for me personally, if you're asking me, I think the big part of it is the fans believe in it. Because the players, I think, feel it in the stadium. I think there's a real kind of confidence issues with players like Brennan Johnson and just the team. It can't help that you got Ange Postecoglou literally having fights with fans. I'm not saying it's the fans' fault that he's doing that, but it goes both ways. Both Ange and the fans going at each other. Is whoever, it doesn't even matter who's right or wrong. The club suffers. That's what ends up happening. The club suffers, and so you need the fans, you need the club to win trophies, to win difficult ties. So I think that'll be my main thing.
If you play the way you played in the last round, you're out.
100%.
But you weren't that great either game. That team that you played.
Do you think we all play like that though? Because I think
I don't know. Listen, I don't know. You're Spurs, innit? Like, are you away or home first?
We're at home first.
That's the problem. I don't think you'll kill that tie off in the first leg.
Can I ask a question to Giuseppe on that? Because I think I know what you mean, but I don't want to assume, and nor do the audience. Are you talking about the volume of chances they concede? If they're doing that against Frankfurt and then they do that against Lazio and then whoever they may get in the final, getting away with that 4 rounds running, are you saying that's just practically impossible?
Yeah. Literally, like, let's be real. That, as he said, they were getting run through. They were getting harassed by Parrot. Now, if Frankfurt are doing that with their players, obviously you're lucky they ain't got Mamouche no more. That was obviously really good for them, but they've still got quality there. I just don't see Tottenham being able to withstand. But you never know, innit? You never know. But I just don't see if Spurs play like that. Spurs can win. Spurs should be like, if you look at it, how they can play, they should get to the final. Like, their team is superior to probably the teams they're going to be playing on paper.
We should fingers crossed.
Then you are 15th in the league. So
we should have a fully fit squad for the Frankfurt game, other than obviously Danso.
So what would your midfield be then, Henry? What would your midfield be for that game, do you reckon?
I mean, a lot of Spurs fans don't agree with this, but I'd put Archie Gray in the 6. He's the closest thing we've got.
He's a 6. That's because he's a 6. He's a 6.
Well,
definitely.
He's everything. He's a centre back, right back, cheerleader, PR merchant.
He's only playing centre back because you guys don't have centre backs. The boy was bought to be a 6, 100%.
Yeah, I'd go probably Gray, Sarr, and Maddison, and I'd move Kulu back out wide. But
okay.
I like the fact that Odebear's probably the only wide player we've got who can actually beat a man. Brennan Johnson, I mean, he can't win a duel. He can't win a header. He can't beat his man. He's just a danger at the back post. So I'd probably go Solanke, Odebear, and Son. The issue's going to be is that left back position, because Jed Spence for me he's our best fullback. Mm-hmm. But I know for a fact when your doggy's back up to speed, Jed Spence will go on the bench again. And if he goes to the bench, I'd drop Pedro Porro to the bench.
So even if Jed Spence is playing well, like he's playing well, he's doing your
doggies,
he'll just drop him like that.
Yeah, like he said in the post. I mean, I don't really agree with the questions that he was asked in the press conference yesterday. Like, I understand, they want a reaction, but they are asking stupid questions about, if you lose the Europa League, are you going to like resign and all things like that?
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then there was a question about the fullback situation, because we've got 3, I would say, good fullbacks, but there's only one fullback who can defend and attack, and that is Jed Spence. Your doggy is good at attacking, awful at defending, and Pedro Porro is not a right back. He's a winger that was converted into a right back in a system in Portugal. So if he goes with Pedro Porro and your doggy, I think we lose. I think we will get absolutely cooked, because you know what Frankfurt are going to do? They're going to sit back and they're going to counter us, just like AZ Alkmaar did, just like pretty much every team in the Europe would do against us now.
I'll admit, I've only seen 2 games of them this season, and to be honest, about maybe 60, 70 minutes, mainly because I'm looking at Hugo Ekitike. I saw the game against, who did it just beat? Was it
they just battered Ajax home and away.
Ajax, that's it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember a lot of their counter attacks was through the center. I don't know how good, I can't remember how good their left wing or right wing is, but I just remember it being through the center. If they do that against Tottenham, you have a better chance. I can't remember them having any like rapid wingers. I'm sure someone in the chat or whatever can correct me, but I don't know if they can really hurt you on the flanks like that.
The wingers aren't rapid, but the whole style of play is about getting it into Ekitike so he can be the into either Ekitike or Goetze, because Goetze can play the passes, and Ekitike he's actually quite good at playmaking as well. So I think you've got one of them is called like Knauf or something. I think he's off the right, and then there's a French lad and Bayer or something off the left. Marmouche obviously used to do it front two when they had Marmouche.
Bahoyo, isn't it? He's 18 or 19.
I know he's a young French. I can't remember his name now, but he goes off the left, and then the German lad Knauf goes off the right. Ekitike is at the tip, and then there's Goetze who just sits in the hole behind with a bit more of a free roll. But they were doing a 4-4-2 with Marmouche, and that Goetze wasn't really playing as much. But that was when you were seeing the real counter-attacks that they had.
It's I what I love about the Europa League, and obviously, United, the benefit for us is that we haven't really conceded too many goals outside of the couple of penalties. There's loads of teams that could win it. I really think it's an open tournament, but in a really positive way, if that makes sense. For me, I actually don't have Spurs or United in the top 4 favourites to win it. I have Bilbao, Frankfurt, Lazio, maybe Man United top 4. Lyon and Man United, in and around that. I still can't believe Spurs with the bookmakers have them as favourites. I think that's fraudulence from the bookmakers. I really, really do.
They know what they're doing there. It's just like everyone had that horse in Cheltenham that fell down. That was an absolute dead cert. They know what they're doing.
It's crazy for me because I mean, and do you know what? It's not even taking anything away from Tottenham. I agree with what Giuseppe said 5-6 minutes ago, that the volume of chances that you conceded. You've done that for a number of games recently. The better teams will beat you. Could you sit in and be hard to beat for half an hour, 45 minutes a game, potentially? But the one thing Big Ants hasn't shown yet is that you're able to do that consistently in the big games. You'll have a game where you guys will do it, and like when you beat City 4-0, everyone praised how compact you were out of possession. And then you'll go like 2 months without doing it again. And that I think that's why it's hard for me to look at Spurs and say, of course, there's a chance you can win it. I don't do any of this 0 chance nonsense. There's always an opportunity for you to do it. But yeah, considering the level of AZ Alkmaar and the fact that it was a very even game, and even right at the end, they had a couple of chances where slightly better shooting and they take it to extra time or knock you out. So yeah, look, I think Spurs are in it and well done. I don't think, I can't see you winning it personally.
Terry, do you think, and I don't know if maybe to the panel as well, because I had a chat with a few guys about this when talking about Ange, because you literally just mentioned around that you don't think they'll sit back, which would help them actually to get across the line. And we're talking about people like Ange, a little bit of Arteta as well, though I think he's perhaps changing a little bit. I know Ange maybe they won't say necessarily he's a direct like Pep disciple, but it does kind of follow that mold. And the feeling that we got is that when we're talking about Ange, is that he's maybe a little bit frozen in time with Pep, where he's maybe following the Pep before the season and in the season before last when the football was a lot more direct.
Yeah, I think, I get the question. I think Ange is part of a group of managers who, I think Amorim, because there's a lot of talk about it, says I'm not going to yield on my principles. But within his principle, he has different ways of approaching games, and that's perfect. That's perfect. Yeah, he spoke about how we need Casemiro to do a job in our system, but I'll find him the best job to make our system work. Not I'll adjust the system to fit him. We have seen in our approach versus Arsenal versus our approach last night against Sociedad a different game plan for the football match, but within the same system. And I think for Big Ange, it's very polarizing. They either sit back and they're really compact and they don't attack so much, or they attack but they leave themselves vulnerable to getting punched on the jaw. And I think that Pep's been, I don't like to use the word exposed around Pep too much, but this year, without him having the very best players available in the league in most positions, you've seen his system or the flaws in his system be highlighted so much more. And if Rodri returns next season but is a shadow of himself, they're still going to struggle. But when they had Rodri, when they had KDB, when they were feeding Haaland and he was scoring all those goals, they could play that particular way. I think most other managers have to be able to adapt in terms of to the game state, because most managers don't have the best squad in their league. They might have 1 or 2 teams in each league that have superior squads, but by and large, you're going to have to adapt to what you have got once your system is obviously implemented and people understand what they're doing. So that's my kind of biggest issue with Big Ange. And I think the way to make it work for him is to give him everything that he needs. The problem is it's Tottenham. They're rich, they've got money, but what they're anywhere between the 5th to 8th, 9th biggest team in the Premier League, and that's like open to debate, right? So when it comes to are they really going to build the best squad or the second best or the third best squad in the league and maintain it? No. So it's not really a dig at him. It's about finding square pegs for square holes and not trying to shove a triangle in a circle, as it were, because I just don't think that the Spurs board is the best match for Ange Postecoglou. I think they are opposing forces in many ways, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. Absolutely.
I think what's going to kill Spurs is the way the legs fall, that the second legs away. I just don't see, unless you kill them off in the first game,
which we won't.
Which you won't. I just don't think you're going to go away from home and beat them. I really don't. But then you never know. I think the same thing, by the way. I said the same thing that's made it even harder for Arsenal against Real Madrid is the legs. The fact that we go to the Bernabeu second is just a bit of a killer, because even if we get a 1-0 at home, you've now got to go to the Bernabeu 1-0 up. But then I think we're more built to defend that than you would be. Like
we don't have a great away record. We just about got over the line against bloody Ferner Chavos, or a Hungarian side.
Do you know what I mean? Like, let's be real. I also think that I like what Terry said as well about the Europa League this year, that there's a lot of teams that can win it, and you're like looking at, you're like, oh, who's going to win it and stuff. And I think that's a big key factor of that is the fact that the Champions League teams don't go into it anymore. I think that's a big plus for the Europa League now, because, you know, like, for example, if it was like a few of them bottom teams, imagine like City and stuff and PSG that near the bottom of the table dropped into like the Europa League. Now all of a sudden it just looks like it's one of them two that's winning it, and it's boring.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's very open, and I was very happy with. What did you guys?